Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this video. This is a video tutorial just to show you how to complete your Ultimate Playground assignment. Basically the point of making this video is so that you can go back to it through the assignment just to make sure that you're completing all of the requirements, and it's just to help show you what to do. I guess the reason for this assignment is for you to show your understanding of all the different forces that you've learnt about this term, and also it's a chance for you to show some of your math skills as well and show what you've learnt about perimeter and area. So it's called Project Ultimate Playground, and your job is to design the Ultimate Playground that's going to be suitable for between 2 and 14-year-olds, so little kids and older kids. So the results from this project do go on your report, so it's really important to try your absolute hardest to both complete this assignment and fill out and follow all of the criteria. It needs to be done independently. It's really important that you work on this project at your own pace and by yourself rather than peers. It would be nice for you to work in pairs, but sometimes people are away and it's just too difficult to get things done. So it's kind of important that you might work with somebody, but you're both completing your individual designs. So it starts with a problem, and the problem is that Glen Eden, the community, they need a new playground. They've got a really old playground. It's about 20-30 years old. It's a little bit dangerous, it's falling apart, and it's unsafe, so they want a really nice new flash playground for the community. And they've talked to you, your job as a playground designer. So the council has employed you to design Glen Eden a new playground. Now your playground needs to show all of the physical forces. They must be incorporated in all the different activities within your playground. So we're talking about tension, drag, friction, gravity, magnetic force, normal force, spring, buoyancy, thrust, elastic force, and lift. So those are all the different forces we've looked at throughout the term. Nowadays with playground designs, they're pretty complex, and a lot of thought goes into planning playgrounds. If you've been to the playground at Pars Park, for example, it's got a lot of different features to it. If you went to the Waterview playground, so another new one, there's a lot of cool things happening. It's not just a standard boring, there's a swing, there's a slide, there's a ladder, there's a lot to these playgrounds. This is a cool video you can go and watch in your own time. It's just a guy, I think, over in America who just designs playgrounds for a living. So I guess it's showing you some of the different equipment and the ways he goes about designing his playgrounds. And it shows you that this is a real world thing. People's jobs are to test and design playgrounds. So it's something that you could possibly do in the future. This video here, I think, is another playground somewhere in Auckland. And this is quite cool because it shows you how the playground actually blends in with the environment, so with the landscape, with using the colors and materials, and that's quite a modern concept. New playgrounds these days aren't as bright, bold yellows, bold reds as they used to be in the past. They're much more reflective of the environment, so they've got colors that reflect the local environment, and they've got materials that reflect the environment as well. So lots of greens and browns and wood, for example. So how are you going to complete this assignment? It needs to follow the following criteria. So these are the things you need to include and think about in your playground. So your playground needs to be suitable for between 2 and 14-year-olds. So you need to think about the different heights and the different challenges for both toddlers and older kids. You need to try to make it as modern as possible and try and come up with some original ideas. You also need to think about safety. So what are you going to put on the ground, for example, to help cushion the impact and prevent injuries? It needs to be really fun. Okay, so a playground main objective is for kids to have fun in a safe way, and it needs to have variety. So it can't have just one or two things and then kids get bored in 10 minutes. It needs to have lots of different things. That's going to keep people coming back to your playground. It needs to be challenging. So as I said, it needs to be challenging for both young kids and challenging for older kids. In terms of maths, it needs to show all of the key measurements. On your plan of your playground, you need to show the area and the perimeter of not only the whole playground, but each of the key zones or key areas within your design. On your map or your drawing of your playground, you need to clearly show all of the different forces and the Newton's laws and where they apply in the different obstacles and challenges and equipment that you include. It would be fantastic if you can try to include things like water. So if you can include water, play, think about shade. Okay, New Zealand's got a really hot summer sun, and so in summer there needs to be shade for the kids and the adults as well. If you could include sand, so not just a sand pit, a boring square of sand, but think about things that could go in the sand pit and the way that sand could be used for activities that would be quite fun. One of the playgrounds I've been to recently actually includes things for adults to do, so it's got like basketball courts and volleyball courts. So think about some of the different sports that may be able to be included in your different zones as well. You need to think about amenities. So amenities means seating. Where are your parents and caregivers able to sit when they're watching their kids? What about eating? Do you put in tables so that families can come and have picnics? Do you want to include barbecues? You need to think about toilets. Make sure that there's drinking fountains. So think about all the things that go in a really good playground. Fencing, that could be something as well. And lastly, if you can include elements that reflect the local New Zealand environment or the West Auckland environment. So think about all the things that make up West Auckland or New Zealand. Street names, places, flora and fauna, animals. Think about things that you could include as either pictures or designs into your playground that make it different from something that you would see if you went to an American playground or a playground in London. Look for things that are really specific to New Zealand. So in terms of size, your playground needs to be not larger than the maximum area available. And the maximum area available for your playground is 50 meters squared. Okay, 50 meters squared. And your playground can be any shape you like. So it's up to you. It doesn't have to be a boring rectangle. You could make it a really complicated shape. The more complicated shape you do choose for your playground, the higher the mark you will get, especially if you show the perimeter and the area of your playground clearly and accurately. Your playground also needs to include the use of what we call simple machines. Now, if you don't know what simple machines are, you probably don't. You probably need to go and research on the internet, maybe on YouTube or Wikipedia, and find out what some of the simple machines are and include those in your playground. So this is what I'm talking about, reflecting your local environment. I just found some images that relate to West Auckland and to New Zealand. So you've got things like beaches, Lion Rock out at Piha. You've got some of the flax bushes here and the toi toi. Over here you've got water as a key element and waterfalls, ferns, Pahutakawa, again water, and the landscape. So New Zealand's landscape is very green. It's lots of water, it's lots of bush and different specific plants and animals, you know, things like the tuatara, the kiwi, turtles, dolphins, the Maui dolphin. Think of things that really spell out New Zealand and try to use those colors and those images into your shapes, into your design. So this is a picture of the Waterview playground in Avondale Waterview area. If you haven't been, it's brand new. It's by the new tunnels, and it's an amazing playground. It's got lots of zones, and it's got lots of cool features, and it reflects the local environment. So it's a really cool playground. It's worth checking out. Just an example of a wire rope ladder. So you can be really original and think beyond just the basic playground that you might see on every street corner. So this playground has tunnels going down the hill, and the tunnels interact with each other, and also they kind of look like they belong in that environment. They don't stand out. They're not like sort of bright yellow. They are colors that reflect the local scenery. This is the tower and slides at Waterview Playground. So think about different heights, different slides, some for younger kids and some high challenging ones for older kids. Just another example of climbing frames, modern climbing frames that can be, kids just love climbing all different heights and shapes. So think about all the different ways that you could get kids climbing all over your playground, but still in a safe but challenging way. So this is again the Waterview Playground. It just shows you how much variety there is and all the different forces. So think about flying foxes and rails and poles to slide down. Think about swings, climbing frames, spider ladders, rock walls. Think about all the key things that you'd normally see, and think about different zones. So you might have a toddler zone, an older kid zone. Just keep it really interesting and fresh. I think this one's down at the Viaduct in Auckland, and this is just a good example of using rocks and sand, just reflecting the local environment. And try to think outside the square. So this is an octagonal rock wall. So these are just big octagon cube type feature, and it's covered in rock wall handholds. So it's just another example of thinking differently. Just another example of the Waterview Playground. Here it's showing the water play, so it's got little paddling pools, little rock pools for young kids to explore. It's got little fountain things and little rivers, and I think the water can be recycled, so it's quite a cool feature. Just another example of the tower and slide. So the process is start with research. Go and find out, what do modern playgrounds look like? What do they have? What are some of the things to think about and remember? You need to then go and work out what needs to be included in your playground and make sure that you've got everything you need to have in a standard playground. Okay, you don't want a customer turning up to your playground and there's no swing there, for example. So what are all the different things you need to make sure that you've got in your playground? Then you need to move into designing and planning. So sketch ideas on paper, sketch them all out, sketch your playground out just roughly, and then go through a design process. Okay, you may add more things in or take things out. And as you move into the next part, you need to then draw a plan, like a bird's eye view. So imagine if a bird was flying over your playground and they could look down and see it, what would that look like? Okay, so a bird's eye two-dimensional plan that shows all the measurements, the perimeter and the area of your playground. The extension part of this assignment is to then make a 3D model of your playground, and hopefully that's using the computer. So what do kids want to do at playgrounds? Well, they want to move. They want to move fast. They want to be challenged. They want to climb. They want to slide. They want to jump. They want to hide. They want to swing. They want to play. It sounds obvious, but you need to make sure that all these things are included. This is an example of some bird's eye view two-dimensional hand-drawn plans. So this is the type of thing we'd be looking for. This shows the layout, the pathways, the different activities, the zones, the plantings, the bushes, everything, the trees, the shade needs to be on your plan. And this is an example of doing it by hand. Another example, but this one's on the computer, and this one's got different zones. So you can see it's got basketball courts. This is a big one, so it's probably too big, but it's got seating, it's got a toddler's area, it's got a climbing frame, seesaw. I would see it's got specific zones, and it should have measurements on yours as well. This is a really complex 2D plan that's been done on the computer.